Hi there, it's Michelle from CNC Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in New Zealand, and I'm bringing you another global monthly video hop. So once a month, myself and demonstrators from around the world make videos based on a specific theme. And this month's theme is memory keeping. So once you finish watching my video, have a look in the description below, and there will be links to the other participants for this month's theme, so you can hop over to their videos and get more inspiration on ways to keep your memories. I will also, in the description, be putting the product codes for everything that I show you in this video. So if you wish to purchase anything, you can simply go online and order directly from Stampin' Up! Or if you have a demonstrator, contact them. If you're in New Zealand and don't already have a demonstrator, I'd love to be yours. So you can go to my website, michellekritchley.stampinup.net, and click there to order directly from me or find ways to get in touch with me if you'd like. So when people mention memory keeping, they generally think about scrapbooking. And I've tried scrapbooking in the past, but it's really not my thing. I like making cards or 3D objects or other things with Stampin' Up! Products. So I'm going to show you a different idea that you can use to keep your memories. So this little booklet, I'm not sure when I made it, quite a while ago. It has the stamp here, to love what we do and share what we love as we help others enjoy creativity and worthwhile accomplishments. In this, we make a difference. So that is basically our motto with Stampin' Up! And I created this little booklet using designer series paper quite a while ago. And it's got a Velcro opening, which is actually quite tough. And it opens up, and then you've got the inside with lots of little pockets. So there's little pockets that you can put things in. You can put little notes, pictures, etc. And I'm going to recreate this slightly different, which I usually do if you watch any of my videos. This booklet here it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pockets, but I'm going to show you a smaller version, but I'll explain how you can make it larger if you want. And I'm going to dress up the version that I make, so I'm going to show you some things that you can put inside to help keep memories of your occasions. So for the one that we're going to do today, I'm going to use the Kintsugi Inspirations Designer Series paper. And there's lots of different images in that paper. This came out several months ago, but it's still available. Lots of beautiful paper. And this is a specialty paper because one side has some gold highlights on it, and the other side is not. When you're creating this project, it's best to use a paper that's a bit thick. So like this older one that I did many years ago, and I don't know if you can quite see, it does have a bit of shimmer on the flower, so it was a specialty one, but it's actually quite thick as well. So it's more of a cardstock. So you do want to have thicker designer series paper. If you don't have that, you could recreate this using cardstock and then just cover the sides with your designer series paper or stamp on them if you wish. The measurements I'm giving you will be in the 12 by 12 inches because that's the size of our designer series paper. So you'll have to adjust them if you need to. And I'm going to show a different closing because the Velcro one here is a bit stiff. And as you can see, it's kind of bending my cardstock on the front. So we're going to do things slightly differently. So I'm also got pre-stamped a few things from the Inspiring Imperfections stamp set, which goes along with the paper. And there's dies for that as well, called Inspiring Imperfection dies, and some of the dies cut out images from the designer series paper. So like in this case, I just wanted to show you this sheet. There's dies that will cut out the different vases as well as the flowers, and I've already done that on some of them. So I've already pre-cut different sizes straight from the designer series paper. Or if you don't have the paper with this die and stamp set, you can simply stamp the images and use the dies to cut those out. So I've already done some of that in advance, and I will just set this aside. So I'm going to create this on the fly right in front of you. So hopefully it comes together the way I'm thinking. I'm also going to be using the flower accents that come with that set. And they're beautiful, different size gold little embellishments. And for the closure, I'm going to just use some tiny magnets. So I'm going to do it with the magnets. I'll set them aside there so I don't forget. Because sometimes I get so into it, I get it all done and realize I never put the magnets where they need to go. So what you're going to need is, with your 12 by 12 inch paper, pick one of the images you like and cut the paper in half at 6 inches. So I've already done that. I've gone with the blue with the gold. So I've cut here at 6 inches. So that's 6 inches across there. So this is half of one of the sheets, the 12-inch sheets. And then I scored at 3 inches. So I ended up with 3 score lines at 3 inches. Just double checking. I did this last night. I'm trying to remember. Yep. So that gave me 4 sections. And then on the long side, you're going to score at 2 inches. So you're going to end up with a 4 by 3. So each section is going to be a 4 by 3 section. Okay. And so decide which one you want to be the outside and which is the inside. You will also need to do the binding on the edge. You're going to need another piece, and I use a contrasting piece, and that's 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 inches by 4 inches, because it's the same height as your little booklet. So you could change these measurements up however you want to have different size booklets, but just be aware that this is the height, and then depending on how wide your booklet is, you want this to be able to fit the edge. So this at the moment is 1.5 centimeters. If I made a bigger booklet, I would maybe make this larger. And then I did a strip to create my little strap here. You could just use ribbon if you wanted and just tie it in the front. That would be a simpler way to do it. But I've chose to use paper. So this piece here for that strap is about 3/4 of an inch by 6 inch. I might not use the whole thing. I believe that's actually 4 centimeters across. And then on either side, if you can see, I've scored it. There, that's a little better. I've scored it at 1/2 centimeter on either side, so I can actually fold it over. And that is because this paper isn't as thick as the original cardstock designer series paper I used. That was quite thick. This is not, and this way I can give it some sturdiness. So I'm just going to fold that over for now. And I'll just glue everything together. And then I've got cardstock to do some embellishing on it, which I'll show you in a minute. So with your piece to make the booklet, you're going to want to fold over on the 2-inch score line. And then you just want to glue the 2 end bits, just a little bit there. Not a lot of glue, because you want to be able to use it as a pocket. So just a little glue on. Come on, glue. It's camera shy. I just used this last night. Can't be. Okay, that one doesn't want to go. Let's try another one. I always have lots of glue on the go. Okay, so because I'm going to fold it over, it's going to be difficult to get the side glued unless I do it first. So I'll show you in a minute. I'm just using a little bit. You can use a bit of tape if it's skinny enough. So I just did a very I don't know if you can see a very thin line of glue on those sides. Don't worry about the other parts because that will actually, when we put the booklet together, it won't come apart because the way the booklet's held. So you don't need to glue any other parts. And also, if you don't glue the other parts, then you definitely have room to stick things in the pocket, wider spaces. Okay, so just glued those two edges. And then you just want to concertina fold it onto itself. So go one direction, then go the other direction. And then go the other direction. So that's made our little booklet, which is actually, I think, half the size of that original one. So see, there's our little booklet. Now, if you want it to be bigger, then just use, because it's a 12 by 12 piece, just cut the second half and score it the same way. And then what you would do is you would glue the two pieces together on this side, and you'd have a longer piece. So you'd have more pockets. So you'd have one stuck. So essentially you would glue one to the other one, and you just, as many as you want to glue together, you'd have more and more pages. Now, if we left it like that, it just would open like this, and that's it. But we don't want it to open like that. We want to be able to actually turn it into a booklet. Okay? So the next step is our little piece that I've already scored and folded. And this is just to give it some strength. So I'm just going to, I should have put the glue in first. Pop some glue in there. You could put just a piece of tape down the center if you want. But we're coming into summer here in New Zealand, and I find that the tape, with the humidity and the heat, comes away in the summertime here. So I prefer to use glue to make sure that things are going to stay. But if it were winter, I wouldn't mind the tape. But I don't know if you live in a hot, humid place in the summertime. But here in New Zealand, with global warming, it's gotten much hotter since I moved here nearly 30 years ago. Okay, so I might not have put enough glue there. And when in doubt, stick a block on it. That's why my blocks get dirty. If you ever notice some of my videos, my blocks are very dirty and sticky. It's because I use them for things like this. I don't think I put enough glue in there. I did not. Okay, I'll fix this up. Okay, so there we go. I got it to work now. Okay, so that's my little strip. I'm just going to give it a bit of a bone folder curve so that way it's more flexible. Now, got to remember to put this on before you put your edge on. So that's going to be my edge here. And I'm thinking it might be a bit overwhelming because I took it from the original book, which you can see is actually got more pages than this one. Fewer pages in here. So I'm thinking I might cut it down because of the... I guess that might be okay. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so you want to put your binding on, so make sure you know which way's up. So the top is the part that's not got fold, the bottom has folded section. So you're going to put your clasp, I guess you might call it, roughly centered, so it can come all the way over. And then you can also decide, you know, because like see one side has more gold and one has less, which side you want to be showing. So that's the back. And I've decided this will be the back of mine. And you want it to go far enough that it's going to be covered by the spine. So I'm just going to look at that. And see, this is 6 inches, which is much longer than I need. but that looks like about good enough length. And again, we're going to try. So, see if the glue decides to participate. So I want it to go, don't want it to go past my thumb. I'm just going to glue the back part on. I always try to get the last bit of glue out. Sometimes it comes out well, and sometimes it just blobs out. So making sure that's the back. That's going to be my front. That's the back. I'm going to set that roughly in the center. If you want to be perfect, you could measure it. Now it doesn't have to go right to the end because that's going to be covered up, but you do want enough to come around the front. So that I think looks good. And we'll just give that a bit of a burnish. Okay. So you don't want the glue to come beyond that section there because this is just going to wrap it over on the front. Okay, so once you have the back part done, you can then put your spine on because the spine's going to cover it and it's also going to hold it more book-like. So that's the spine. I'm just wondering if my spine's too big, if I want more of a delicate looking spine. Because what I was going to have here, this is the look I'm going for, and this is going to be covering up there. Oh, I think that spine will be fine. Okay, so you want to glue your spine on. I might swap over to glue that has more in it. I have lots of these partially empty bottles, and I have them going upside down to try to get as much out. See, that one's got much better glue coverage. Okay. The other reason for using the liquid glue is to give it some wiggle room. So I'm just going to set that there, kind of wiggle it so I've got about the same amount on both sides. So I'm just looking top to bottom to see that I have about the same amount. And I might just be trimming this off slightly so I can wiggle it into place. And I'm just checking here that they kind of line up the same spot. And see, that piece is slightly longer than it needed to be, but that's okay. All right, so that gives you your spine of your book. And so now everything's going to be held together. Oh, one thing I forgot actually. See this opening down here? I forgot to do that. Just get some glue in there. I wanted to glue that shut because I'm going to turn that into a pocket as well. So don't do this beforehand. But it's not closed yet. So that part there, I'll show you, I'm going to be turning it into a pocket. So I want a strip of glue at the bottom, which I had forgotten about. So we'll just do that now. So that was the middle part of the little booklet. This middle section here, I wanted the two bits glued together on the bottom because I want to make it a pocket, and if I don't glue the bottom together, whatever I stick in the top will just fall right through. And that's just because I thought of that afterwards. And that will make a nice little pocket at the bottom. And then I can just reinforce my spine. Yep. Give it a bit of a burnish. And it does stick over slightly at the bottom, which I can cut off. I'll do that later. So that holds this part in place and covers that section. That's the back, and then that's the front. And there's your booklet opening up. Now, as I said, I want that to be like a pocket. So I'm going to just use a circle punch. If you don't have a circle punch, but you have a circle die, put half, do this before you glue anything together, half the circle on there to give you a little section to cut. So you see, that's the middle. And I glued those two together, and see there's an opening there. So I want to make that a pocket, so I'm just going to put my half circle about halfway down and about even on both sides, roughly. If you want to get really specific, you could measure it and line it up and stuff, but I'm not that concerned. So that gives you a curve. So whatever I put in there, I'll be able to pull out. Actually, I think I want it to be deeper than that. So I'm just going to come in and go slightly deeper than I was, maybe more of a half circle. And punch that. There we go. So that gives a little part, so this middle section can open up and I can slip a card into there. And now that I've glued the bottom, it won't fall out. So let's do some decorating. So here's the front, and I've already made up some things. So I've got a few die cuts here that I want to use. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all these die cuts in my card, my little memory keeping book, but I'll just pop them there. So that's a die that is in the set. It's supposed to look like a strip of washi tape that you ripped off. I've stamped and already heat embossed in the gold the message on the front. And in order to seal it up, I've done another one for the back, but I've done it in the very vanilla color, and I've just put my details on the back, because if I choose to sell this at one of my craft markets, I'm able to do that as long as I have the Stampin' Up copyright on there. Now, this is the part I want to make sure I don't forget to put my magnet. So as you see, if I put that there, this part sticks out too far. So I'm going to snip off the little extra. That's why I wasn't quite sure how long I needed it. And then this, I'm going to line up so it looks about centered. Now, I only want the glue on part of it, so I'm only going to put the glue on this section and eyeballing it again. I don't want it to go past my thumb, so we'll just pop some glue there and then pop our little message there. So then that's going to be our opening to our booklet. All right. Now, in order to be able to close the booklet, I could put the Velcro on there, but I'm going to go with the magnets, which they're there. So I just need to, these are very strong magnets, as you can see. I just need one of them, and I'm going to pop it right about there. So we're going to try to just drop one on. That looks like a good spot. And now I can glue this back section on. And that will hide my magnet. Keep it safe, won't fall off. And I cut that with the same washi tape die. So it should fit perfectly. I'll just turn it over to make sure I don't have any color coming through it. And that's also why I use the liquid glue, so I can wiggle it into place. And get my handy dandy block. Let's just check the front still looks okay. There we go. So there we go. So that's got my magnet in there, and that's going to come over the front. Now, to get the placement of the matching magnet, what you do is you take your magnet and you just drop it. And that will find the other magnet. and it'll get the right polarity, because if you turn it the other way around, it won't stick. You know, you got your positives and negatives. So once you drop that in the right place, you need to line it up on the other side. So what you can do there is take a glue dot. Now these are from a kit, which are even smaller than our normal glue dots. So I'm just going to take one off there. And once you got the polarity in the right direction, then put your glue dot on the back. So there's my glue dot on the back of that magnet. And now just peel the backing off that glue dot. Now, normally I would use my pick a tool or my scissors, but the reason I'm not doing that now is because this is metal. So if I use that to try to peel the back off, I would just take the magnet off, because the magnet would stick to that. So you need to use something non-metal to do that. So now I've got the glue dot there. I can simply close my booklet. And I don't want to close it too tight, because once I get things in there, it's going to need room to open up. So I don't want it to be too tight. So once I do that, if I press where that magnet was, the glue dot should do its job and make it stick. So now I just need to cover that up. So that's where my vase comes in. So I was thinking I'll put the vase there and see how pretty that looks. So I might even, not sure if I want to have one at the bottom or not. We'll think about that later. So I'm going to stick it there, and in order to put it down, I'm going to use some dimensionals. I'm going to use some mini dimensionals either side of my actual magnet to hold that in place. Just make sure it doesn't move. Yep, make sure that's big enough. And then I'm just going to pop some mini dimensionals on the rest of the vase to hold it in place. Okay, so take the backing off everything. And I'll pop this down. And that will be the outside of our booklet done. Now I'm going to show you some ideas of decorating the inside. Hopefully it'll still stick. I just noticed the dimensionals are quite high. We shall find out. So I'll pop that right about there. Yep, it still sticks. Good. So that's sticking, not opening, and then it's just much nicer opening than my original one, because that, with the Velcro, as you can see, it's peeling things away, it's bending it, it's not really the best. So there's that, and I'm thinking I might do another little bit on the front. I could actually do that one behind. Just thinking of maybe decorating. Okay. So I'm not sure which one of these I want to use. I see there's another one here that has the leaves, so I think I might cut that one out off screen and use that. And pop that there, and then we'll put some gems on. So pretending we've got, because that's too busy for me, but pretending I've got the other one there, I will put some gems on the front, and then I'll show you ways to decorate the inside to do your memory keeping. So we will do maybe a big one there. Okay, that's good. Usually you do things in odd numbers. 3s are good. So I'm going to die cut the other vase little bowl to put down in the front. So for the inside, we've got the ways we can decorate. So I've already gone and prepared a few things. Knowing that this is 3 inches by 4 inches, you want something small enough. So this whole side isn't glued down, so we could put something wide there, but this one has glue on that edge, so we can't have anything too wide there. So I've gone ahead and I've cut some cards that's about 2 3/4 wide by 3 3/4 tall. It's actually, I believe it's 9.9 centimeters that way, and what's the other side? The other side is 7. So I got 7 centimeters by 9.9. So here I just stamped half of the image in the Misty Moonlight of that vase. And so you can pop something like that in there if you like. The other thing that I've done is, again, same sizes. And this one I've done a few little lines crackling on it. We could do something like pop that one in here in our little pocket. And so that pocket. Oh, I have to cut that shorter because I glued at the bottom. I just realized it needs to be shorter. So that would be better if we did something like this. I can trim a bit off here and that will fit. So let me just do a quick trim and it will fit. So we'll take about half a centimeter. Let's see. Yeah, I'll take half a centimeter off. So half a centimeter off the top there. And we'll pop that one in our pocket. So you could have a little message there, you could have a little photo there. And so that's in there. You could even add a little ribbon to pull it out if you want. We've got our little guy here that we can pop that in that side. I'm going to stick that one down. That one should go all the way down because it's not glued. And then we've got this little piece. We can pop that one in. I've just put a little decorative piece on either side. So depending on which way you want it to show. And again, you could put a message or a photo in there. Slide that down. Probably best if I trimmed it down a little bit. It might fit better. I've taken a strip. So this is this is the full length of the A4 paper. And then I scored it at 9.9 to create 3 sections. And with my 3 sections, I've just stamped in the corner with the petal pink with a flower because that's the color that's on the inside. So that one, I cut it, it's about 2.5 inches wide. I cut it much smaller because that way I can stick it in one of the end parts because this section's glued, so we can't go so far over. So you can stick it in the side there and you can fold it down. And that way when you come to that part, you can just pull it up to look at the different sections and even pull it out if you want. But let's do a little decorating on the inside as well. So just to add a little bit of interest. So we can just pop our vase in there. I'm just wondering about having some flowers coming out. We could have some flowers in the background. I think that might look better. We could have the flower come out. So I will stick that down. No, that's not the one that works. Get the glue that works. And before I do that, I'm just going to do a little slit. Just use my scissors to do a little slit right there that I can pop that way I can pop my flower through. So we'll pop that maybe offset there. And then I can slip my flower through, hopefully. That's the trouble with thinking on the fly is out an original sample. I gotta come up with ideas after. So I can pop that one just sitting there. And then I will just put a little glue at this part that's not going to overlap. And that just gives you a bit more interest on your page. So you could go crazy with all the different colors we have, all the different images, you know, cut out lots of other vases. You could do some more stamping, even more lines and things. But that just shows you how you can have the different sections. This one, it's probably better over here. Start it on the front like that. And then you've got that little section there. You could pull something out. Pop that guy there. So you see the flower a bit better. So as you open it up, you've got the different sections. You've got the part that you can pull out in the middle. Put them in this way. You could put an image on both sides. You could put a little note, other things in there. And I'm just going to do the die cutting for that to finish off the front. Okay, so I hope you like that. So I've added the extra little vase at the bottom there, and then we've got our magnet to open it up. And so I've actually trimmed off some bits to make it easier to get in and out. So we've got this one here that you can put messages on the front and back. We've got our vase with the flower coming out here, and then this piece that again you can put messages front or back. And then that's just got a couple little extra strips from our paper. And then in the center, I've just added an extra little flower there to give some interest. And we've got our little pocket, so you can pull your messages out of there, and you could put things either side, front or back of that. And just remember, if you are going to have the pocket, glue the bottom, preferably before. And then I've got this section here that can pull up with photos on it if you want. You can even pull the whole thing out and use either side. So I've just pre-stamped that with some of the images. Could tuck the whole thing in too, actually. That might work as well. But I like having just one end tucked in, because then you can see it kind of folds out. Could glue it in place and just have it pull up and have it go that way if you would like. So I hope you enjoyed that little different memory making, keeping memories idea, and not scrapbooking, but similar, because you can have lots of photos. And I like the saying, there is beauty in your history, because it can be a little, you know, memory booklet of things that you've done on a trip, maybe even a baby thing, wedding, etc. So I prefer that magnetic clasp, but if you don't have that, you can always just get little Velcro dots. I cut them in half or smaller pieces because they are quite large, but be aware, if you are going to do the Velcro thing, it might mess up your front part. So that was my original one I did years ago, which is thicker, so there are more pages in there, but if you want more pages, just do 2 of these and glue them together, and then you just need to adjust. That's why I had the 6-inch strap, because if I had more in there, I'd need more room for that. So I hope you enjoyed that memory keeping idea, and make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos, as well as click the links below to hop over to some other demonstrators videos showing you other ideas for memory keeping using Stampin' Up! Products. Thanks so much for joining me. Hope to see you next time.